Hi guys, this is Mary with the Gun Books. Welcome back to my channel. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I have put out notice. The reason why I didn't upload was because one, I was on vacation, and two, I've been sick for the past like 3 weeks, so I did not feel it was appropriate, nor did I want to film a video while I was sick. But also part of that time I was out of my house, so I had no means of filming a video. But I am back, I am healthy again, so let's get into this book review. Today's book review will be Obsidio, the Illuminae Files. This is the third book in the Illuminae Files trilogy. It follows 2 new characters while having the other 4 main characters from the previous 2 books, plus all those other like minor characters. And while this book is a solid book, this is like a solid 4 out of 5 stars. The writing is amazing. I absolutely love the way that everything is not just prose. They make the pages fly by. Like, oh my gosh, I love the way this series just doesn't look this great on the outside. The inside is so beautiful, and it has drawings, and it's amazing. But the third book starts off after all the events of everything has happened. So we're back to the beginning of Illuminae, where all events from everything have been transpired. The transcripts have been there, the IMs have been there, everything has been included. And now at the beginning of the third book, we are at the trial of Baytech Industries, which is, you know, the main villain in this entire series, trying to take over every single thing in the, universe. And then we get right into the story, which is, in a way, the 2 main characters are like the main characters from the first book, in the sense that both books, and I don't know if they did this on purpose or it was a complete accident. The 2 new main characters in Obsidio, Asha Grant and Reese Lindstrom, they are ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, but they meet again on the planet or ship or whatever it is that is being overtaken by Baytech Industries, that the other 4 main characters from the previous books are coming to the ship to ruin Baytech Industries. Reese is actually working with Baytech Industries, and Asha, no matter how much she hates him, at that moment realizes, hey, along with these other friends, comrades I have that are rebels against Baytech, maybe I can turn him from this soldier that he's into a rebel like me. Now, here's where the coincidence comes in, because at first I thought it was going to be okay, well, this is just obviously gonna end up how Illuminae ended up. Obviously this is going to be the same sort of situation. No, it wasn't, because the 2 absolutely despise each other. The coincidence is that Asha Grant is the cousin of Katie Grant, who is one of the other main characters and the first main character in the first book. And the first book, actually, Asha cousin Katie, she and her ex-boyfriend were put on the same ship. So I thought, oh, coincidence, but this is going to turn out exactly how that was. And it, in a way, it did. So you have these 6 characters. 4 of them know about each other. The other 2 don't. And, you know, here's the thing about adding in new characters as series go along. It's very hard. The Illuminae Files is a hard enough story to follow if you get confused very easily. The reason I'm saying that is because while we saw what Asha and Reese could do, a lot of the story was actually the previous 4 characters and what they were trying to do to destroy Big Tech Industries. And I found that so much more compelling than, hey, these 2 new characters that I don't really care about in this last book, I have to apparently care about them for 600 pages. And it got also confusing because Asha and Katie are cousins and they use the same last name. So when you're switching back and forth like constantly, and you're not paying attention, it'll get so confusing because everybody wants to say Grant. Like, come on. In the transcripts, it's always Grant. It's like never Asha. Like, it's barely ever Katie. The prose portions of the video are Grant. And if you have to pay attention, which kind of irked me a little bit because I don't like my characters to have the same last name if the series is gonna be a little bit confusing anyway, especially with everything that was going on in the last book to try to wrap up the entire story, which I believe they did very well. I don't think there was any other way they could have wrapped up the story better, but I don't think adding in 2 new characters in the last book of a series is always great. Like, we had never heard of these characters before. The thing I'm going to contradict myself with is the Lunar Chronicles. And I love the Lunar Chronicles. Anybody who knows me knows I love the Lunar Chronicles. And Marissa Meyer, each book, she added 2 new characters. Cinder, Scarlet, the one about Rapunzel, Cress, and Winter. Here's the thing though. We knew from previous books that there were going to be 2 new characters in Winter. We knew those 2 characters were coming. We did not know that, like, somebody, like the main character's cousin was going to show up at a random time, like in book 3. We did not know that these 2 main characters were just going to, like, be thrown in there. And that kind of threw me for a loop. And while I like being thrown for a loop sometimes, it's not necessarily the best thing, especially when it's the last book of a series. You don't want more drama. You just kind of want to see how this ends. And this book screwed with my emotions so much. Okay, you know what? I wanted to tweet or like somehow talk to the authors and be like, hey, this book, this is not okay. What you did is not okay. And if you have read the book, you'll know absolutely what part I'm talking about, where you cry, just absolutely sob, and you're just like, this is not happening right now, this could not happen. That kind of me for a loop too. This like kind of plot twist, which I liked, but the introduction of the two new characters was nice, but I don't think it was necessary. I think we could have seen what more was going on with the main four characters from the previous two books and how they handled it. It would have cut the story a little bit short, but at the same time there was some stuff going on that I really didn't feel like needed to be going on. Plus I felt like I wanted to see more of a I wanted to see more of a relationship with Aiden and Katie. And you know, if you've read Illuminae, how that relationship is. It's very odd. It's very strange. And she still cares for it no matter what. She still does in Obsidio. However, things get awful at some points. And it's really terrible sometimes what happens. But I really, really like Aiden's relationship with everybody that the computer knows. And I really think that's interesting. I think that is some of the charm of the book. And I think I wanted to see more of the previous main characters in Gemini. But because no matter how big of a part they played in the second book, and the second book I think was probably the best book, and it was probably the book that I liked the most out of the trilogy. We didn't see a lot of Hannah and Nick, and I thought that was kind of a shame, because I kind of felt like their relationship was all over the place in Gemini, and just what they went through, and then it kind of almost completely disappeared in Obsidio, and I didn't necessarily like that, so I think we should have seen more of that, and less of Asha and Reese. Now, don't get me wrong, those characters I really, really like. I really like how they brought more of Katie's family into it. I like the romance in the book, okay? Like, you guys have probably seen my videos. I love romance in books. But I think that we could have seen less of Reese and Asha and part of their story and still understood it. Like, I felt like if I hadn't read any of Gemini, that part that had Katie and that part that was so pinnacle in Gemini, I felt like the leading up to that with characters from the first book, that plot point from the first book, I feel like I could have understood it without knowing who those characters were. And I felt like this book, I felt like Obsidio was a great book that screwed with my emotions and made me fall deeper in love with the characters. Can I please get a fourth book? I need a fourth book. But I felt like it was just kind of, well, okay, I have 600 pages to fall in love with these characters, with these two characters. I'm not so fond of them at all, and I kind of know where this relationship is gonna go, because every book that I've read where the characters are exes, they somehow end up back where they started, and like, you know, they go through a bunch of character growth, but at the same time it's like, okay, then what was the point? So, and also I feel like it was a recycle of Illuminae, like, oh, you couldn't have thought of a better, like, way to connect these two characters other than having them have a breakup like a year or whatever ago. I felt like those characters could have been taken care of better. And it took me a long time to warm up to Katie. I didn't really even like Katie until the second book. Like, I warmed up to her eventually at the end of the first book, but I really liked her in Gemina, and I loved her even more in Obsidio. And I felt like having characters appear in multiple books is probably a great idea, but if you're going to add in characters through more books, throughout books like Lunar Chronicles or Illuminae Files did, I feel like you need to give your characters time and your readers time to fall in love with those characters, which is something Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, I don't think they did for me. A lot of it was focusing on the past four main characters, and I think that's why I care so little about Asha and not Ezra. Ezra is Katie's love interest from the first book, but I think that's why I care so little about Asha and Reese, because I really didn't get time to know them. I only knew about their relationship, really. I knew they had troubles. I knew a little bit about Asha's like life, but I didn't really feel a connection with either of them like I have with Katie, I have with Hannah, I have with Nick, I have with any other character besides these two. Though I do love the book and the style of the book, that the characters were my only problem. The previous four characters were perfectly fine. Obviously, I've been talking about the two new characters. The strong points were obviously the style and the past four characters. But I also think that the way it began and the way it ended was perfect. I could not think of a more perfect ending for this series. And I think it really like did the series justice, because you're kind of wondering how this is all gonna wrap up, and then it suddenly wraps up really well. And I remember going into Obsidio thinking, oh my god, there isn't that much left, but there's so much. There is so much plot we have to cover. How are you going to do this? And I think they did in a really good way. And co-writing a book is really hard. I really think that throughout the entire series, Amy and Jay did a great job. Obsidio would probably be my least favorite book of the series, but I really did enjoy it. Obviously not my favorite, but I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the style, I enjoyed the amazing story that through all three books, not just Obsidio, but I enjoyed almost every little thing. And the ride that Obsidio went on, I went on the ride of Obsidio, and it was amazing, and I loved it. And the emotional parts were just so touching, and I wanted to cry, and I did cry, and I hated it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you are unsure about finishing the series. I know that like there are sometimes series that don't wrap up the way people want them to or the way that things should have, but this is definitely one of those books that you should definitely, I think, finish the series. It didn't take a long time either, but it was just a great book, and I don't necessarily know if I'd reread the entire series or even that book again, but I would definitely recommend it to anybody who does enjoy the series or either of the author's books. And that is my review of Obsidio. I will hopefully film another video soon. I would like to do it. I don't know necessarily when I'll get the time, but hopefully I'll be able to do it soon. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.